Welcome to the Aaron Harber Show. My guest today, Pratima Rangarajan of OGCI, and I'm just honored to have you on the show. Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome. So I want to hear about it's the Oil and Gas Climate Initiative, and you are heading up the Oil and Gas Climate Initiative investment arm of the organization. So tell me about OGCI for starters.
Okay. So the OGCI is a voluntary initiative. It was started by the 10 CEOs of some pretty large oil and gas majors.
What are some of the companies that are funding it?
Oh, it's BP, Shell, Statoil, Total, Repsol, Eni, Saudi Aramco. You have Pemex, CNPC, and we recently included Petrobras in our list.
That's a global,
a very global,
and very big companies as
well. It's about 20% of all oil and gas.
Now,
worldwide.
Why haven't any United States companies joined on?
I can't actually.
What's wrong with them?
Oh, no. I can't actually answer the question historically because I'm relatively new to the organization, and the CEOs really look at have brought this club together. But I know from a North American perspective, there will be more joiners. We already have Pemex. I'm not sure I mentioned them, but we have Pemex from Mexico.
Okay.
Oh, that's my bad. And so I'm sure there will be more.
All right.
There's good conversation going on, and I think that just the goal of the OGCI is to take practical action on climate change. And one of the practical actions these CEOs took was in about 2016 announcing the start of $1 billion fund that can do investments in technologies and solutions that can lower the greenhouse gas footprint of the energy as well as the industrial sector. Now, I know that a lot of the oil companies all believe in it, so there will be more entrants, and it'll be fun.
Well, you've got a pretty good group to start with, so yes. That's a powerhouse list from a global perspective. So the idea is to advance technology to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. You've been funded. These companies have chipped in something on the order of $1 billion, yes. Or at least a commitment.
It's $1 billion over 10 years. And we're already spending it, and we've got a head start. So it's commitment. It's a real commitment to
a solid commitment.
It's a solid commitment.
And as new companies come in, I would expect they're going to be asked to chip in as well.
Absolutely. It's an equal share, so that there's no big or small within the fund, and everybody gets to participate.
So just out of curiosity, if you get 20 more or 10 more companies, do the original ones get money back, or does their commitment reduced? In other words, is it a fixed $1 billion commitment, or does that commitment grow as new companies pledge their support?
At this point, we're still about 10, in the order of 10. I think if it gets larger, we'll consider what the different options are. But really, it's more about finding the right investments to put the money behind and to put back it. I don't see the $1 billion, and from my conversations with the CEOs, it's not like a fixed sum. If I come back to them and say, there's so much out there, I need more to have a bigger impact, and they can see the impact, I'm not very worried about the money.
All right, well, tell me about your role. I know you've been on the technical end, heading up divisions at different companies. You're at GE. Yes. And also at Vestas. We had the CEO, the international CEO of Vestas, has been on the program in the past. So you're familiar with certainly a lot of renewable technologies. I know wind is one of your specialties. So tell me what you're looking for in terms of investments, and what excites you right now.
Yeah. I spent 10 years on the renewable side, and I've been a big climate. Working on climate has been part of my DNA for at least 10 years now. And it's clear, though, and when the Oil and Gas Climate Initiative approached me, and I started really thinking and reading about this, it was clear that even with the most aggressive growth in renewables, we're still going to be powered, energized in a way. The energy system is still going to be largely fueled by oil and gas for the next foreseeable future. And so it makes complete sense that what we need to do is lower the greenhouse gas footprint so that we can deliver the same services and deliver the same goods, but with a much lower carbon footprint. And as a world, we're quite innovative. If we put our minds to this, we'll get there. We just haven't really put our minds to it. And so there's an enormous amount of potential in this area. It really is, I think, a matter of finding the technologies, but also finding a way to make them commercial, to make them scalable. That excites the innovative community to bring in more ideas into the table. But we haven't yet really taken a lot over into the commercial side. And that's what I see, at least the early part of my job is to do.
Are there any projects right now that intrigue you in particular?
Oh, absolutely. So, for example, we have an investment in a cement company. Now, why cement? You know, cement and concrete. Why? Cement actually is responsible for 6% of global CO2. That puts it somewhere between Russia and India in its emissions profile. So, pretty big deal.
Very, very big deal for one source to be 6%.
One source. And with the significant growth in population, yes, there's going to be a significant growth in housing, roads, and there's
the demand for
cement and concrete, right? So the company we've invested in reduces, compared to traditional cement and concrete production, it reduces CO2 footprint by 70%.
Wow.
And water utilization by 80%. That's a pretty big deal.
That's huge.
Yeah, so we're really excited about that. And it's not that expensive. You know, it's really price competitive. The pots and pans, how you make the concrete is not so complex. They've made it very simple. So all the pieces are there for it to commercialize. So what we have to do is figure out which the best region where it's attractive or where they need to do it. Because you're trying to convert a 100-year-old cement and concrete industry to try something new. It's a tough challenge a little bit.
Not easy.
Not easy, but we got to do it.
All right, fair enough. Okay, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back in just a moment.
There's more of the Aaron Harber Show after this.
I think all the innovation in electric vehicles is very exciting. So I think it's great. When electric vehicles are charged by renewable electricity, it's a renewable car.
For information on how to help promote civil and mutually respectful discourse and support expansion of the distribution of our programs, please email info@harbortv.com.
I'm Aaron Harber, host of The Aaron Harber Show. You can follow the show on Twitter for instant notification of new episodes, live event invitations, outtakes, and behind-the-scene photos. And tweet us your topic and guest suggestions today.
Join me and watch The Aaron Harber Show.
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 I'm Reverend Jesse Jackson. Watch The Aaron Harber Show and Keep Hope Alive.
I'm Aaron Harber, host of The Aaron Harber Show. Find us on Facebook to get all the latest updates, see behind-the-scene photos, and make comments and ask me questions. You can see episodes before their TV broadcast, so like the show today. I'm Aaron Harber, host of The Aaron Harber Show. I very much would like to hear from you about the program, so please send me an email with your thoughts. You can suggest what topics I should cover, what guests I should invite to be on the show, or even what specific questions you would like me to ask. This is your program, so send your suggestions to aaron@harbortv.com. I promise to personally read every one, so email me today. And most of all, thanks for watching.
The Aaron Harber Show may be viewed 24/7 at no charge from any location in the world at harbortv.com.
Welcome back to the show. We're with Pratima Rangarajan, and we're talking about OGCI and the investments they are making, or at least you're planning on making, because it's all kind of new. What about, are you looking at anything in terms of, because of the focus on greenhouse gas emissions and technology, anything in the energy conservation arena? And the reason I ask that is that it seems that that's still low-hanging fruit, that we can reduce emissions with efforts oriented towards energy conservation. Any thoughts about that?
You know, absolutely. And what you don't destroy is the first thing you want to hold on to, right? So we didn't have it in our original plan when they started climate investments, but our sponsor companies are very eager, and all of them are looking at it. In fact, I think all of them are looking at that. And so we're starting to lay out our plans of how we want to approach energy conservation, forestry, and those kind of aspects. You think about it as a carbon sink. And what better carbon sink than one that's naturally occurring and has been going on for centuries? So yeah, absolutely, it's part of our forward-looking strategy.
How about in the realm of energy storage? Are you looking at projects, efforts in that regard?
Well, I already had a little bout of energy storage before I came to
you have quite a bit of
OGCI.
expertise there.
Yes. You know, we think about energy storage in the context of energy efficiency. As you think about it, the electric grid today is extremely inefficient because it's like having an Amazon with no warehouses. You know, there's no place to store it for when you need it, and therefore the grids are all built to peak capacity, peak demand. And that's what I think the US grid is about between 40 and 45% utilization factor. So absolutely, when I think about energy storage, we think about making systems more efficient. The difference that I think from an OGCI perspective is we are looking at system solutions. So if we think about storage, we're thinking about making what is, say, for an offshore, can we electrify offshore operations? And then what is the storage piece? What component does it play? So not particularly in the investment per se, just in energy storage, but in how do you make systems much more effective.
Is the OGCI climate investments looking at anything in the opposed engine arena?
You must have read our press releases.
Well, I wouldn't be the first, but talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, you know, transport is responsible for about 15% of global emissions, CO2 emissions, and then you have the other particulates. And I think all the innovation in electric vehicles is very exciting. So I think it's great when electric vehicles are charged by renewable electricity. It's a renewable car. I think.
But many are not. A lot of electric cars are powered by electricity from coal.
So maybe we should call them coal cars. But if you take the light duty transport out, so those are cars and small vehicles, and you start looking at the heavy duty, we don't expect to see the same electrification in that sector. And it's actually not very sexy. There's not the same levels of investment going in there. So that's going to be one of our focus areas. And we actually have made an investment in an opposed piston engine company, a small startup, that we thought was quite interesting, and we'll continue to do so. But in the transport area, we'll also start developing partners who are along the value chain of transport so we can accelerate the speed to market of our investments.
How about LNG, liquefied natural gas for long distance trucking? Are you looking at anything in that arena?
No, we really haven't. I guess we've thought of LNG as a fuel, but not per se in the final trucking. The transport piece for us requires co-investing or collaborating with many other people in that value chain so that we truly understand what's possible and what we can do in the 10-year period of our fund. Typically, when you start a new innovation in transport, it could take you 20, 25 years.
Absolutely.
So we got to figure this out.
Though the Chinese seem to be moving into the the LNG long-haul truck space, and there's some speculation that they may have some very inexpensive models that they export to the U.S., which could then result, of course, in a significant increased demand for LNG here. Do you see anything like that happening, or is that unlikely?
I'd say that I'm too ignorant to actually answer that question. But I think what's also important is that most of the growth in the transport sector is going to happen in Asia, and is going to happen in the Asian countries. So when we think about innovation in that area or investment, we've got to think along Asian lines. So if the Chinese are thinking about it, assume it's probably some type of good idea, because most of the growth is in their sector.
Well, certainly when you look at the hundreds of millions of people in China and India looking to eventually drive and have vehicles, et cetera, you are obviously the growth potential there compared to the United States is just, you're talking orders of magnitude in difference.
It is, and that's passenger cars. But in terms of goods as well, as these economies are growing, the transport of goods, the transport of material for the people is going to be very important.
What about how does when you look at investments, how does the Internet of Things play out with what you're doing?
So I think the digital world is completely intertwined with the physical world going forward. There have been so many innovations on the digital side that the industrial sector hasn't entirely absorbed. So I think it's part of the system. We're going to take a very systems view on solving the problems, because some of the problems we're trying to solve from a greenhouse gas perspective are already complex systems. So we need to understand how every new innovation fits into that system and how it can get incorporated. So yeah, we look at digital as just part of this systems analysis that we will do.
I guess no one can escape it.
No. I'll find out how to escape it when I figure out how to escape my cell phone.
Oh, well, good luck with that. All right, we're going to take our last break, and we'll be back with Pratima in just a moment.
There's more of the Aaron Harber Show after this.
Methane is natural gas, but when we talk about methane emissions, it's the stuff that's leaking. So it's a double whammy. We're giving up some good source of energy, but we're also polluting the atmosphere.
For information on how to help promote civil and mutually respectful discourse and support expansion of the distribution of our programs, please email info@harbortv.com.
The Rexall Broadcaster of the Year Award recognizes an individual who, through leadership, skill, and dedication, is advancing the broadcast industry in our state and our nation. Tonight, we honor Aaron Harber. Aaron has worked extensively in the media as a host, producer, political and economic commentator, and columnist. Today, the Aaron Harber Show is the focus of his media involvement. Aaron, it is a privilege to present you with the Rexall Broadcaster of the Year Award. Congratulations.
Just make journalism great again. I'm Aaron Harber, host of The Aaron Harber Show. You can follow the show on Twitter for instant notification of new episodes, live event invitations, outtakes, and behind-the-scene photos. And tweet us your topic and guest suggestions today. I'm Aaron Harber, host of The Aaron Harber Show. I very much would like to hear from you about the program, so please send me an email with your thoughts. You can suggest what topics I should cover, what guests I should invite to be on the show, or even what specific questions you would like me to ask. This is your program, so send your suggestions to aaron@harbortv.com. I promise to personally read every one, so email me today. And most of all, thanks for watching. I'm Aaron Harber, host of The Aaron Harber Show. Find us on Facebook to get all the latest updates, see behind-the-scene photos, and make comments and ask me questions. You can see episodes before their TV broadcast, so like the show today.
Join me and watch the Aaron Harber Show.
Watch the Aaron Harber Show.
Watch the Aaron Harber Show.
Watch the Aaron Harper Show.
Watch the Aaron Harber Show.
I'm Reverend Jesse Jackson. Watch the Aaron Harper Show and keep hope alive.
The Aaron Harber Show may be viewed 24/7 at no charge from any location in the world at harbortv.com.
Welcome back to the show. We're talking about what OGCI, Climate Investments, is doing these days. So let's talk about carbon capture and sequestration, or I guess carbon capture and storage, whichever you prefer. What do you see happening on the technology side, and what are your expectations in terms of OGCI's involvement?
So carbon capture, utilization, and storage is one of our core areas that we're going to focus on. And really it's because whether it's an industrial system or power generation system, once the CO2 has been emitted, we have to do something with it. So think about the CCUS system as like a recycling program, in a sense, right? Just like you collect newspapers, you separate them, then you recycle them, or you put them in a landfill. CO2 is exactly the same way. Whether you generate it from a power plant or a steel plant or a chemical plant, you got to collect the CO2, separate it from all the junk that comes with it, concentrate it, and then we hope to develop new utilization for it. So you can actually use it, and the rest will go into storage.
So what are some of the uses? I mean, of course, in the energy arena, there have been uses for a long time. The ability to get, for example, carbon dioxide to various fields, though, can make it either expensive or impossible. What are some of the applications that you think hold promise?
Right. So, as you said, enhanced oil recovery has been used before, and actually I think what we're going to see is that we're going to see many more practitioners of enhanced oil recovery as we move forward, as we start to really try to use CO2. So that's one that's established. I talked earlier about the cement company. Now it's going to use CO2 as part of its curing process, so that's another one. We've also actually have a chemical company we've invested in that takes the CO2, has a catalyst, novel catalyst technology that takes the CO2 and incorporates it inside a molecule called a polyol. And polyols are used to make polyurethanes, which is used to make shoe soles and bedding and fun things that we use every single day. So the thought is that as we start finding more uses for CO2 and commercializing them, we will start seeing more innovators trying and getting into this arena. 20 years ago, all the newspapers in the world said they couldn't use recycled newsprint. And today in the United States, 70% of the paper is recycled. So, we will figure out how to evolve. So but the CCUS, the reason it's been a challenge technology to get commercial and really scaled is because today we can get power from a combined cycle gas turbine. As soon as you start adding recycling and this capture and everything, you start to make it more expensive. So without a value for the CO2 or a price of some sort, the economics haven't made sense. So we're actually looking around the world for the best areas where there is the best economics from a CO2 cost or price perspective. Also areas where we can find utilization, like EOR or these other industrial systems close by, so we don't have to transport it very far. And areas where there's geological storage sites close by, and where our plan is to build some new projects. But we'll also invest in the technologies to make the whole system much cheaper.
So are there many fossil fuel plants today that actually are doing CCUS, carbon capture, utilization and storage?
Actually, there's more industrial plants than there are power plants that do it. And it really is taking off in many industrial systems. There's some in the Middle East, there's about 21 plants worldwide. About 3 of them are in the power sector CO2.
So the potential certainly is there.
The potential is there. It's really around getting the business model to work.
All right, how about methane? What are you looking at in that arena?
Well, methane is very important. It's a short life cycle molecule, so it has a short half-life, but it's very potent when it's in the atmosphere. So it's one of those that if we get rid of the methane emissions from as much as we can from energy products, we can actually make a pretty quick impact on the greenhouse gases or on global warming. Now, methane's interesting. About a third of the methane that's produced worldwide, that's emitted worldwide, is from the energy sector. A significant amount of it is actually from the agricultural sector and the biosector. But a third is important as well. And it's really, methane is natural gas, but when we talk about methane emissions, it's the stuff that's leaking. So it's a double whammy. We're giving up some good source of energy, but we're also polluting the atmosphere. So this is what I call our year of methane. We are doing a pretty big venture day. We've set aside about $20 million for methane investments. If we find more, we'll invest more. And our goal is not just to invest in the technologies, but also to use our member companies as sponsors to pilot and deploy these new technologies. So we're going to try to support these companies all the way to becoming commercial.
Let me ask you, I know we're running out of time, but I'd be interested in your take on the United States' decision to begin the process to withdraw from the Paris Climate Agreement. What kind of impact do you think that may have, including on investments in some of these fields?
So it seems to have had a mixed impact. On the one hand, it's a little disappointing, but on the other hand, we find other countries are being even more aggressive about getting stuff done, and private industry is stepping up even in the United States. We see it all the time. You have the mayors of different states in the US with their Mayor Bloomberg's conference in California. We're seeing a lot of interest, and I think the data now just speaks for itself. It's not about whether you believe in climate change or not. The data says it's a reality, and so we got to go fix it. I'm very optimistic. You look at the ozone problem, it's a much more positive story than it was 20 years ago.
Sure, we certainly looked at that scientifically and set a path to solve that problem.
Right, and it's knitting itself back in.
So last question, certainly in the United States, for various political reasons, there's a significant portion of the population that either does not believe in climate change or does not believe in the role that humans play in climate change. What's your experience, because you travel globally, and in terms of the perspective of people's, if you can generalize, in other countries compared to the US when it comes to climate change?
I think Europe this is not something we debate that much anymore. I'm now based out of London. It's it's a walk of life. That debate is come and gone, and people expect companies and corporations to be doing something about it. So it's just not a question of debate anymore. I think in the US too, wherever I travel, there isn't a lot of debate that there's no climate change. I think the question that people sometimes ask is what is the price for mitigation? Or is it human caused? My personal philosophy is I hope humans can do something about it. And I hope it is caused by us, because then we can do something about it. So I'd much rather not leave it up to fate and take an active role in that.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
All right, that's the end of our show. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Please contact us. We want to hear from you. And thanks for watching.